Welcome to Legends of Grayskull, the podcast that dives deep into the mythology of Masters of the Universe, with your hosts Matthew Dooch and Sean Scavana. News, reviews, remasterings, and more are just ahead on Legends of Grayskull.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 99 of Legends of Grayskull, the fan podcast where we discuss the history, the mystery, the magic, and mythology of He-Man, She-Ra, Eternia, Hyperion, Nordor, Primus, New Adventures, Old Adventures, Ladybird, UK Annuals, comics, mini-comics, anything and everything you can think of. He-Man, She-Ra, Masters of the Universe, Princess of Power! I've been telling L.O.G go down before. I'm Matthew Dooch. Here again with Sean Scavana. Sean, was that longer than last week on the power?
No, that was about the same, only I realized I needed a shower. I got a little bit of feedback on that.
That's not my personal goal, to get that hell longer every time.
Sean, take a shower before you podcast. It'll save lives.
So what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I mean, what's that phrase? You can complain, but no one will listen. But honestly, it's not so bad. How about you? It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. It's been a rough time, but we're back.
Yep.
Doing what we love, and we delayed a week here just so that we could get into Masterverse issue 1, available now at comic book shops. Well, some, I guess.
I know my comic book shop locally because of Jesse last night taking a photo and letting us go, oh, it's on the shelf. They have it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, where Matt is, not so much.
Well, they had it. I will say that he said that they did have copies.
Oh, okay.
It just sold out already.
Gotcha.
We'll get into the review of the comic at the end, guys. Stay all the way to the end. We're going to keep it spoiler-free, but we can talk about this a little bit right now. So I did end up having to go digitally. I will get the physical book eventually. But I went digitally today just so we could talk about it. But yeah, I got to my local comic shop, and I looked at the rack first. Nothing was there. And so I asked him, I'm like, did you get it in? And he said, yeah, but it sold out basically on open. Mm-hmm. So it's like I'm bummed I couldn't pick up a physical copy today. But at the same time, it is kind of that, hey, a Masters of the Universe book sold out.
Yeah.
On release day.
You
know? But it stinks because, back when we were growing, comics were everywhere. I rarely got comics at a comic book shop before I was a teenager and could drive myself. Mm. Before that, it was 7-Elevens, Barnes and Noble, Borders, Mm. They were just everywhere. You had the convenience stores with the magazine racks, and the whole bottom was always comics. And you'd go in and you'd see, that holographic Spider-Man fighting 1 billion clones, the old spinner racks. Yeah,
the spinner racks were, I mean, that squeal was one of the like they always have that Pavlov thing when you hear or see certain things. And like that spinner rack squeal was huge when I was a kid. And, you go into 7-Eleven. For me, it was, you went into 7-Eleven. My mom usually would let me leave with a couple comic books because she knew that would be at least a couple days worth of me looking through something and getting excited. And I'd at least get a Slurpee. And back then they had the Marvel characters on them. So like right on my Slurpee, there's Spider-Man, Cap, and Hulk looking at me while I'm reading about them or looking at the pictures at least. So yeah. Well,
and actually I've been looking for a spinner rack. Like I really want to get one for the basement here to just put some comic books in.
Sure.
I've been watching Facebook Marketplace, so I'm hoping one pops up for a reasonable price one of these days.
That'd be cool.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember a road trip with my dad, and we'd stop at a gas station, and he'd grab like a dozen. Same thing. Like we were traveling. He was moving from Michigan to Arizona, and I was with him. And he's same thing. He's like, well, we got thousands of miles to go.
Yep.
So grab a bunch of comics.
Yeah.
I used to ride my bike to the local gas station with my pocket change. And it just, along with the toys, it's like, everyone's like, why don't kids get into this stuff like they used to? It's like, well, is it really accessible for them?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, when I was a kid, traveling across town was impossible. If those comic books weren't at my corner gas station, I would have never gotten them. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the toys. You know, you went down the aisle. Nowadays, half this stuff doesn't even show up in the aisle.
Yeah.
You know? Even for going back to Masterverse issue 1 today. All right, I still grab the digital and everything, but say just a teenager walks in there this afternoon. Oh, new comic book day. Let's see what's out.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to see it.
Yeah.
That amazing cover is not going to draw him in and go, what's this? Oh, and it's an issue 1.
Yeah.
You know? Granted, I'll save it for, I don't know if this is a great, Masterverse itself is a great entryway, but still, on the grand scheme of things, everyone sits there and goes, something's wrong with these kids nowadays. They don't get into this stuff like we used to. And of course, the caveat always comes, because I'll say, hey, my kids are into this. Well, that's because you introduce it to them. Well, I have to nowadays. They can't just go wander that by themselves and see this stuff.
Yeah. For me, there was a point where I would tell my kids, hey, let's go to the comic shop. And it was pretty much, 75-25 chance of 75%. Yeah, let's go. 25%. And as they've gotten older, it's gotten harder for me to get them to go to the comic shop. And it's like a lot of that stuff, it's almost too much because it's in a concentrated place.
Yeah.
And it's like, to go to the comic shop, then there's a schedule of we got to get out there. And it's no fault of the stores, but like ever since COVID and the quarantine stuff, places have not kept the hours that you're used to. And then like there were a few times I'd show up going, okay, it's a Sunday. I'm going to take them to the comic shop just to pick up a couple things and this and that. And I'd show up and they're closed because their hours changed. And I just got to the point of like, number one, I didn't have the disposable income as much last year. And number two, I was just like, I don't know when they're open. And when they're open, I'm usually needing to hunker down and get stuff done because I got to pick up my kids in a couple hours.
Right.
So that was a little more difficult. But for my kids, at least, their dosage of finding these things is more, unfortunately, it's more based on streaming services now. And, like we can't get out to the comic shop, but they know who the Teen Titans are. They know who Superman is. They know who Batman is. My daughter and I just recently watched Battle of the Super Sons on HBO Max. And I was really surprised. She got really excited to watch it with me because she was like, oh, it's a new movie. We haven't seen this yet. Damien's still Robin. And I'm like, and then you're going to meet John Kent. Yeah, I know you're not big on Damien Robin. but she like Jonathan.
Damien can suck a fart.
Well, that's the episode 99, suck a fart. That's a spoiler for later, unfortunately, folks. But
now it is.
Now it is, yeah. I spoiled that for Matt earlier, so it's just
all my joy.
It's a suck a fart kind of day. But no, like when I was a kid, 7-Eleven or like over at the mall, B. Dalton Bookstore and Walden Books and stuff. They always had the spinner racks. I mean, if it wasn't for Walden Books, I wouldn't have gotten back into X-Men when I was a kid in the 90s. Because I was literally the spinner rack, just checking out what was there. And Uncanny X-Men 279. I think it was, or 278. Colossus is about to punch Professor X right in the face on the cover. And I'm like, I have to get this issue. That's my boy. Why is he keep trying to kill Professor X? I was completely lost. So, of course, I bought it. And then it got me all down the rabbit hole again. But the accessibility was there back in those days.
God, 279. Absolutely.
Yep, 279, the Muir Island Saga. Colossus about to pummel Professor X.
Because you demanded it, Colossus is back. So
Colossus
Sean literally
is back.
thought, like, me! They listened to me!
I back in those days, and what was funny was, like, in those days, I didn't read comics that much, but when they said, because you demanded it, Colossus, I'm like, well, of course I did. That's my favorite X-Men. And then the thing that got me was, it got me really into X-Men. And then the next year was when we found out that Superman can die, and the Death of Superman run hit. And then I felt like a complete jerk because my absolute favorite superhero dies while I'm in the middle of having the biggest love affair with X-Men comic books that I ever knew. So
you did it. You brought Colossus back, but it was at the expense of Superman.
I was like the Flash. I'm messing up realities left and right because one thing distracts me. The next thing I know, oh my God, the butterfly effect just happened. Yeah. So Ezra Mocha. Ezra Mocha Frappe. Wow.
The views of Sean Scavarna do not necessarily reflect the views of Legends of Grayskull podcast and its subsidiaries. Since you brought it up.
Yeah.
The Flash, or what?
The
starring
Flash.
Ezra Miller.
Okay.
Now, I haven't watched the full trailer. I saw the Super Bowl teaser.
Yeah.
Like the short Super Bowl ad. Have you watched the full trailer?
I watched the trailer on Sunday. Yeah.
Okay. Well, now, what I noticed, well, number one, it was an amazingly coordinated event, which I guess isn't that spectacular in this day and age because you can set, like, dates and times and auto mail and everything. But, like, so the Super Bowl was playing. Excellent Super Bowl, by the way. One of the best in recent memory. Sean's falling asleep right now.
Sports ball.
Sports ball. Yes. Sweet. God, I need to get some guys who know sports on this show. But no, it's a great Super Bowl, honestly. One of the best I can remember. Questionable call at the end, but, whatever. But the trailer came on during the commercials, and the second it ended, I get an email on my phone saying, the Flash trailer now available. Check it out. Follow the link and everything. So, like, I've never noticed anything that coordinated before. So, hats off to WB for that. But what I noticed is I would say a good 85% of that teaser trailer during the Super Bowl was all Michael Keaton.
Well, sure. I mean,
you shelve Batgirl, which also had Keaton in it.
True.
Along with Brendan Fraser, who the world needs more of right now. Ezra's gone through all this criminal stuff.
Yeah.
And you're still going to release this movie, but there's obviously a huge pivot where they're like, well, release the teaser, but make sure it's all Batman. Yeah. So I'm curious. I'm not going to watch the full trailer because I'm not that type of guy. But so 85% is my estimate for the teaser. How do you feel about the trailer? How much of that is featuring bats?
It's not as much as the teaser. The teaser I didn't see the teaser. I just watched the full trailer, and I'd say halfway through the trailer is when you finally have the Michael Keaton part kick in, and they only have him in a couple places. But I mean, you have that. Everybody's seeing it online. That here's the close up of him right when he does that's right. I'm Batman. And it's like, okay, that's great.
Right.
But I think he's in one other part in the trailer where he's got his hands up. And he says, this is the part where we don't die or something like that. And he's going to hit a button to,
I want to say there was one of him like gliding or something or jumping off.
Yeah, he jumped off like right after that part. They had him like doing the glide like in Batman Returns and whatnot. Yeah. And
there's a big Batmobile focus.
Batmobile, and they had the motorcycle from Dark Knight Dark Knight, not Dark Knight Rises. Yeah. When he was chasing down Joker in that one scene, but then there's people who are like, well, there's no way that's going to be Christian Bale. That's probably going to be Batfleck riding on that one because Ben Affleck already was alluded in the trailer. Here's the thing about that movie for me.
Real quick, before you get to the thing about the movie, because this is where I was leading.
Okay.
So they also have, at least in the teaser, they had that scene where they showed all the different bat suits. There's like 6 of them.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that picture.
I've seen it, but I don't remember it in the trail, but I have seen it, yeah.
Do you think he's showing off bat suits? Or is this a No Way Home? I guess, do you think they're trying to say Keaton was all those, like, that is Keaton's Batman was from 89 Returns, Forever, and Robin?
Oh.
Or do you think they're actually pulling in Val and Clooney and, like you said, Christian Bale and Batfleck? Are we going to see the army of Batman?
I don't know. I didn't actually even think of that because for me, at least, it's like, it's actually impressive. I know he's been in the movie. Like, I know the casting was already out there that, yes, Michael Keaton is back and all this stuff.
Right.
But to me, it's still like, it's amazing he's even in this because, number one, he's old enough that if he was still Batman, I'd call it elder abuse, just like Indiana Jones running around right now. You know, like, he's younger than Harrison Ford, but he's definitely not a spring chicken either anymore.
No.
But it would be interesting if they did that and almost did like he did those adventures, but they turn it on its head and say, but that was almost like the media's way of viewing that adventure versus it being, this is how it really happened, because his version would not have been the bright colored version that we saw in both of those movies that Schumacher did.
Yeah. And I just know one person, at least I saw it online, pointed out that one of those has like the blue
and gray.
That, he had when he I think it was the Mr. Freeze one and Robin. He had like that blue suit basically.
Okay.
And someone pointed out that it looks like that. So that's what led my mind to like I could easily see them going like, yeah, that was just that Batman. Like those 4 movies are all Keaton now. I could also see them pulling the, hey, here's Val Kilmer, and here like they pull in this whole army of Batman to save the train wreck that is Ezra Miller.
I'd say, I don't know, like Val Kilmer, he did a cameo in Maverick from what I heard. I still have yet to see that movie, but he hasn't been doing much. So I don't even know if that, he'd probably just show up and just stand there because I know like vocally he can't do it. And I could
have to dub him.
It's like, can you picture Clooney even giving them the time of day, since he's the one where it was like, he flat out's been saying for decades, it's my fault, up until Nolan rebooted everything and started his own version. So it's like, I can't really picture Clooney really having that kind of, I'd like to come back and play it one more time, because he's just like, no, I effed it up the first time.
It could be that redemption thing, though.
Where
he's like, I know yes, I will do this cameo. Yeah. So, and actually take it seriously this time in order to try and mend some fences.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
If they just had a scene where like they're calling in all these different Batmen and they just show him like dressed up as Bruce Wayne, he's like, nah, I'm not going to do that.
That'd be hysterical. Not this time, kids. Sorry.
Exactly.
You got me. Fooled me once. Shame on me. You know.
That'd be a great Deadpool-esque moment.
Oh
like
my god,
that
would be
when
amazing.
He shoots Ryan Reynolds when he's reading the script for Green Lantern. Like that kind of meta.
Big fan. Thanks. Sorry about that. No, for me at least, like, there's a part of me that wants to see it just out of sheer curiosity of what is going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm not owned to the DC universe in any way, shape, or form. Like, even the stuff that I've liked, I've kind of distanced myself from loving to the point where if they change it, it's something that'll wreck my life, because it's all characters that I'm not really in deep with. I mean, Wonder Woman is fine and all that stuff, but I've never been a huge Aquaman guy. I've never been a huge Shazam guy. I appreciate them. Well, I appreciate them, and that's actually I agree with you. It's definitely the most fun that DC has been in the movies since they did the whole Man of Steel, since then, the Snyderverse stuff. But there is that part of me where I don't know if I really want to support the movie based on the person that's the star of the movie. And it's not so much like a woke thing or any of that. It's just mostly, do you really want to give the guy who already has a bunch of crap going on in his own life more money to possibly let him go even crazier and do even crazy? I mean, that guy's already done some stuff where I'm like, what are you doing? And to think, yeah, if you support this movie, you're giving him more money in order to make crazier decisions with his own life. I don't know if that's the smartest idea. And it's like, would I want to see Michael Keaton again? Sure.
Yes.
I would absolutely love to see what they do with him. He's the biggest draw of the movie, more than anything they showed in that preview. Like Zod coming back, didn't really. It's like that's connecting something I don't like anyway. So Michael Keaton, at least there's the nostalgia, and like he wasn't necessarily my definitive Batman even now.
No.
But I do feel that, like, man, I feel like a kid again with him suiting up again, and
Kevin Conroy.
Absolutely.
Definitive Batman. But,
absolutely.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's crazy. And yeah, whatever he's trying to do now with whatever he's trans or what, I don't even know. It's all deflection. I mean, this guy is facing criminal charges. And it's so weird in this day and age that they're still pushing ahead with this when, case in point, we were talking about offline or off the show, Danny Masterson.
Yeah.
There were rumors of misconduct, and he got fired from the ranch.
Mm-hmm.
And he has yet to appear in anything since then, even though he has never been found guilty of any charges in the 5 years now since those rumors started.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to push out this huge, big budget flagship. This is what revitalizes the whole DC universe cinematically with a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just insane. And they know it too, because like I said, everything is about Keaton Batman.
Yeah.
Hey, come see Michael Keaton. Come see Michael Keaton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The one review I was listening to about the trailer, and I agree with it. I mean, honestly, like, Marvel usually has something around the corner every time DC starts putting something out there, because it's that whole, it's like, yeah, DC, you think you got something? Well, here's this, and guess what? We know the people love this, and this is one of the few times where they put out the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 trailer, and that didn't do as much. It didn't have nearly the amount of traction compared to this, because this is the first time we're finally getting, like, there is that part of me. Somebody recently was asking about this, like, okay, we got Keaton back, and if Chris Reeve was still alive, what are the chances we would have seen? And it's like, don't make me, don't make me wish for something I can't have, like, there's that part of me that I'm like, how amazing would this have been to finally have the two of them in the same movie? That would have trumped everything with Ezra Miller for me. I would have been like, I'm showing up because we got a freaking Batman Superman team up. If 1995 or whenever he had the accident didn't happen and he was still willing to be super, he could be like Kingdom Come Superman walking into that movie. But unfortunately, that's not something we can talk about. We just have Keaton, but still, that's enough to make you go like.
Even with the accident, he would have been in something by now. Crisis on Infinite Earths would have had a ball with him. I mean, the Smallville brought him in, and 2 or 3 episodes, you know. Oh, we lost Sean's audio. Hang on, folks. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Sean's audio is good. Apparently, Warner Brothers doesn't want us talking about Ezra Miller anymore, so
Yeah.
I will see it. I will not pay for it. So that's what
Yeah. Yeah, if it shows up on HBO Max, I'll watch it there probably. I don't see myself going to the theater right now.
No. Sean, you had something you wanted to show off before we get into other stuff.
So it's not Masters of the Universe, but in my opinion, it's He-Man adjacent because this is where I went as you know, pretty much once puberty and a little before puberty. In the last week, I ended up getting the Mezco Conan the Conqueror, and I haven't opened it yet at all. So that's next on my to-do list when I have some free time at night because there's so many little pieces. But it's got some gorgeous Frank Frazetta artwork, 2 different pieces. And these were both on I got a lot of the paperback books that he contributed the covers to when I was a kid. So like these really, really blew my mind. And it's like when you look at the Masters of the Universe packaging, the way Rudy Obrero would do the art, especially, man, did it really use this as inspiration. So it's funny. Obviously, friend of the show, Jesse Arnold on his Just Shelve It show. I was listening to it yesterday, and his co-host Curtis went on a tear about how he didn't like Frank Frazetta, and my jaw was literally hitting the floor. And every other thing he kept saying made me go, "Stop rubbing yourself in honey and jumping into the bear cave. What are you doing? Like, stop talking. Just stop talking." So I was having a moment yesterday with that because to me it's like, you know, without Frank Frazetta, a lot of the stuff that we love, especially Masters, probably wouldn't be what it is because they really did look at what he did on those paperback Conans and he even worked on like John Carter of Mars, Tarzan. And it's like you look at that stuff and he painted these, they weren't detailed. They let your mind fill in the gaps, but they're gorgeous pieces. And I don't think anybody before him was really attempting to create those fantasy worlds and those scenes the way that he was. So, yeah, it was like mind-blowing to me yesterday. But
yeah, I won't say I dislike Frazetta, but I'm also not in love with Frazetta. Like, I get what he went for and I like looking at them, but I can't say I've ever had a desire to like own a piece of his or anything. Or even like they're doing the Death Dealer now, which is fully his from what I understand.
Yep.
So I kind of get it. Like, obviously he laid the groundwork for a lot of stuff to come, but I don't know. It's pretty to look at, but I don't give it much thought beyond that myself. So maybe that's sacrilegious too.
As they said, even on the show, and then when I was listening to it, you know, art is all subjective and everything, and I'm not here to tell somebody they're wrong, but Curtis out of anybody was like, it was mind blowing with how staunch he is on his opinions, but then he just like keeps doubling down on. I don't get it. I want clean lines. I want this. And I'm like, you realize we're talking about like fantasy barbarian pieces of artwork. How much clean lines are you going to get on that piece necessarily? So
I would say maybe it was more of an artistic thing, but Curtis is pretty artistic himself.
Yeah. And that's part of why I'm like, I don't know, that it's just one of those things. It's like finding out, you know, like it's like finding out somebody that you thought would be one way is like a whole different way about something that is kind of, as an artist, I guess there is like a sacredness of certain artists are revered for their contributions or whatever. And for me, it's like I grew up with more Boris Viejo as like the fantasy artist. But then I went more towards Frazetta as I've gotten older, because for me, it's like, I love that he doesn't give you everything. It almost feels, the best way I can describe it really quick is, it feels like you are literally looking at a photograph of that time, and it won't fill in all those details. You're going to have your mind create some of that. But there is a story that's being told in that image, and it's an important story. That's why it's captured that way. So that's definitely a huge point of why I like him quite more than some of the other artists. But Rudy Obrero, he knocked it out of the park with translating what he did to create like the Battle Ram artwork, the Castle Grayskull artwork and stuff. And as a kid, that was what made me just hook, line, and sinker into Masters, because I'm like, what's in the darkness? What's He-Man going to fight in the Wind Raider today? You know, all that. The Battle Cat artwork. There's more than one. Holy crap, that's awesome. You know, you see Battle Cats everywhere. So that must make CGI Skeletor sore as hell, because he wants a Battle Cat for his birthday. I mean, geez, poor guy can't get a break.
Well, he's the only Skeletor to not have a cat.
Yeah. Very true.
All right. I have an email somewhere. Not that email. The other email. Tony Moore. Guard, if the He-Man.org forums ever come back. Dear Matt and Sean, as I write this, it is February 5th, and I just got to listen to the podcast yesterday. All I can say is thank you so very much for doing this for me. Yeah, I never doubted that you would. Your remastering of a beastly sideshow far exceeded my expectations. The way you made the sideshow so much more prominent was absolutely brilliant. It corrected a story flaw that I did not know was there. I didn't either till we started going into it. I never thought of it, but I guess the human Electrode was one of Skeletor's henchmen as well. Going as far to even give the episode a better moral. Wow. Looking after your pet would have been a much better moral for the show, and that is another flaw I did not see. Excellent work remastering that. Pretty Kitty is one of my favorite one-time appearance characters, so the fact she just disappears after Beastman reveals himself with no mention of what happens to her is what irritated me about this episode. Me as well.
Same here.
I absolutely love how you worked with her. Having her talk would have been great. I absolutely loved the idea that she was rescued, and the other animals too. It was awesome. I love the idea of the episode ending with Cringer and Pretty Kitty going on an actual date. That would have been such a perfect ending. Worth not having Battle Cat make an appearance to get. Bravo, gentlemen. Bravo.
Wow.
Your very grateful listener, Tony Simba's Guard Moore. P.S. Once I see season 4 CGI He-Man, I will go back and listen to the rest of this episode. Thank you so much for dealing with the spoiler material the way you did. And thank you, Tony. We appreciate it. And I'm glad people like that format where we leave all the spoiler stuff at the end.
Yep.
We're going to do that today, too, for Masterverse issue 1. We'll let you guys know when to turn it off if you want to say spoiler free. That way you don't miss anything. Because I know I listen to shows myself where they'll just jump into spoiler stuff like in the middle of the episode. And I'm like, skip 5 minutes. No, that still sounds like it's probably spoiler.
Yeah.
It's a pain. So, I appreciate it. I appreciate your kind thoughts. And I thought that was one of our better remasterings myself.
Yeah, I was joking that Matt was going to read it and just go, "You've lost a listener. Screw you guys." And it turned out that was one of the nicest emails and responses back to something we did on the show. So thank you, Tony. That was really, really, it made my day to know that we treated the episode that you love so much in a way that you see it now as better. That's the whole point of remastering something. And I kind of wish we would have had that episode. I wanted to see the Cringer moral at the end, doing the, treating your pets kindly and being responsible and how you how you take care of them and stuff like that. That would have been an amazing moral. So
Yep, that would have been a great episode.
Yeah.
We do appreciate it. All right. We have also been requested to talk about some toys.
Yeah.
We do have some pictures revealed this morning of some. I will bring those up in a minute. But first, there are still some that were listed that we don't have. So deepdiscount.com. Most people know this as a place to get a cheap CGI Castle Grayskull.
Yeah.
Which they are up again now, $46.29. I got one myself. I haven't opened it yet, but yeah, under $50 for that CGI Castle Grayskull playset. You can't beat it. The box got delivered yesterday. It came in the mailer box. I mean, that thing is huge. It's bigger than the Origins box and a ton heavier. And I know it's got electronics in it, but I was still surprised about how heavy it is. Because like the 2000X Grayskull has electronics in it, and it's not this heavy. So I think this thing's going to be really well done when I pull it out and put it together.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to mine. It's actually going to be my son's, but it'll be down here with my stuff, so I'm going to definitely tinker with it.
Oh, I'm sure that my kids will claim it, and that's what it's for. You know, I got them the Origins Grayskull so they could play with that and leave my classics with a little less wear and tear, and I'm sure they're going to eat this one up too. But anywho, Deep Discount also listed a bunch of figures with no artwork. So, let's see what we got here. We've got Masters of the Universe, Masterverse Grizzlor. I'm hoping that'll be New Eternia, that they'll bump him up a little bit. We have Masters of the Universe deluxe figure for He-Man, which might be, I know it's already out, but would that be Thunder Punch? Because in Origins they had Battle Armor, Flying Fist. Did they have another one?
Did they do Flying Fist? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I haven't been keeping up on that nearly as well as others. I would guess it has to be Thunder Punch, and Snake Armor just came out recently.
But that wasn't a deluxe figure.
No, but I'm just thinking of the variations of He-Man. But yeah, I'd imagine it would be Thunder Punch then.
Then there's Thunder Punch, Battle Armor, and Flying Fist that were deluxe so far. So that's only 3, so that would make this a new one.
I can't think of what it would be then.
Light.
Oh crap! Are they even? I guess they would go there eventually.
And that one would have to be a deluxe, even if they don't include the light up function. Like that, just what they make deluxe in this line would have to be.
Yeah.
It'd have to be a deluxe. Masters of the Universe Origins figure 14.
Your guess is as good as ours, folks.
Figure 16.
Same answer.
Figure 15.
Gwildor. I'm just gonna say Gwildor, just because.
Merman. That's Masterverse.
Oh, Master. So maybe he's a new Eternia.
Could be New Eternia, or could be the classic,
the old
Revelation
school looking.
look.
Yeah. Which I'd rather go that route. I was not a big fan of how they made him in Revelation to begin with. So having an old school looking merman would be more my preference in that line.
Then we got Masterverse Ram Man.
That should be a
big one.
He's going to be a deluxe.
I bet it's going to be New Eternia, probably in that Beast Man size packaging.
Yeah.
And then there's Buzz Off for Masterverse as well.
And he was in he wasn't specifically, but Andrenids were in Revelation. So we kind of have an idea what they probably look like if it's not a New Eternia version, that is.
Yeah, I would bet New Eternia on that. just because that seems to be the hot thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a Masterverse Faker.
Mm.
Yeah, with no image. That's a new one, 6/1 of 23.
So it probably will be a new Eternia version since we already got a Revelation version. Or maybe they're just doing the blue skin and just calling it a day.
It's possible. I still think New Eternia is more likely.
Yeah.
And he probably will have the blue skin, but I can't see them just doing Revelation Faker with the blue skin, especially when he didn't appear that way.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. And the other thing, just to qualify some of this, is the new Eternia is what we're thinking might happen, but there's no guarantee this isn't another subline within that, because they had we've seen the She-Ra packaging, and they've alluded to other lines that haven't even been put out very much yet. So maybe these are the beginning of a different subset. Who knows?
What if they continue the 40th anniversary and just do straight up Masterverse vintage recreations? Especially with that Faker. I mean, that just literally the He-Man they did painted blue.
Exactly. And I mean, that wouldn't surprise me, because that's an easy one to get out there. Just like, I mean, Mondo just doing the anti-Eternia He-Man right after the deluxe He-Man. You know, it's like, well, either you could go there or you do Faker. Boom. One way or the other, you got a new figure that you can release. So, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I remember getting him earlier in the line than some of the other figures that were later on when I was a kid, because we just found him in like the 5 and Dime, and my mom was like, I'll buy him for you, because what the heck? Why is there a blue He-Man? It blew her mind enough that she let me get him that day, because she's like, what's that all about?
So, and then he didn't even come with a mini comic that had anything to do with it.
I was still happy. It didn't matter. I was just like, new toy, yay!
It's just weird, because like a lot of the character, like you just have an evil witch. Oh, an evil witch. Let's go. You know, whatever. But like Blue He-Man feels like it needs a story. Like, why is there a Blue He-Man? And he's the one that like did not come with a story.
Yeah. That made him like the anti-Eternia He-Man of my childhood, because it had that, what is his deal? How does this work? And you never had the answers. You got that one episode in Filmation, and that to me was not legit, because he was not the toy. I wanted to see the blue and the red head and all that stuff, red hair.
Yeah.
And instead we just had, here's He-Man with glowing eyes, which, you know, but for me at least, it was always like a, you know, like you could really just go with your own headcanon and just pile it on him and go crazy if you had him, at least. So yeah.
Be interesting. Can't wait to see those.
Yeah.
And then we do have, let me switch over here. There we go. We did have some images leaked this morning. I don't know if they were leaked or officially released, to be honest with you, but they were out there.
Yep.
And these 4 were also listed on deep discounts, still with no artwork, but somebody got these from somewhere. So first up, we do have the Masters of the Universe Origins Slamurai, which is the white repainted Ninjor. Heroic master of martial arts.
I like him. He's what Cyclone is to you. And I know there's a reason. Yeah, I don't know what it is. He's the fact that he was a possibility, but they never got to him because the line ended. And as a kid, I never got into Ninjor, because I didn't like that there wasn't enough. Like, how come Skeletor got Ninjor and then he also got Jitsu, and there was no heroic martial artist for the heroes? So then if they would have brought him out, I would have been all over that because it would have reminded me of Storm Shadow. And I liked Storm Shadow a little more than Snake Eyes as a kid. So it was like the whole ipso facto timey-wimey thing with that character. And I got one in Classics, and I love the fact that he finally came out. So the fact that they're doing it again in Origins, that's pretty cool.
It looks cool. I won't get him. Next up, we have 2000X King Randor.
Mm-hmm.
This is an interesting one. They really went to town there, like new skirt, new upper torso.
Yeah.
But it's a great representation of him, but at the same time, it now doesn't look like an Origins figure to me.
Mm.
You know, because they've been so vintage inspired with the removable armor and the same torso, and you know what I mean? Like, this one just feels so out of place.
Let me look him up for a second here, because
I made Sean look a little bit closer. I do appreciate the fact that they did a whole new head sculpt. He's got the longerish hair, a little shaggier and everything. Like, they could have easily just thrown the first King Randor head on there.
Yeah. So for our listeners, you know that we aren't the best when it comes to this stuff, because we know the Origins line and the Masterverse line is out there, and we know everybody's enjoying them, but we're kind of sitting back still, you know, like, okay, you know, some of this works, some of it doesn't. This is the one figure that made me jealous of Origins for the very first time, because when I started with Classics, I had no idea they went with Snake Armor He-Man even. Yeah. Like, that was the one where I'm like, I want my traditional He-Man, I want traditional Skeletor, but oh my God, Snake Armor He-Man. And then the line ends before we could get any further down into 2000X past a few points. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden Origins is offering that. And I'm sitting there going, oh, like, now I'm starting to feel like I'm missing the boat, because Origins is doing what Classics never got to do. So I do love that he is very much his own character. Yep. And they made him, I mean, he looks like he does on the cartoon for the most part. So it's like, geez, you know, they're doing some good stuff with that. But unfortunately, that's not the scale that I want for that version of him. So then there's that whole, well, I'm out of luck, but I love that he's out there for anybody who's like me that loves 2000X, and you can get that version now.
Nope. Like I said, it's a great representation of the tune. I just feel he doesn't fit the aesthetic they've done thus far in Origins. It just it's interesting that this is the figure that they're like, nah, let's throw that. I mean, we talked about how He-Man and Skeletor, even the 2000X, it's like, you guys were so close. Yeah. But the sticking with the Origins aesthetic meant that they feel a little off to us, representation wise. Now on King Randor, they did the opposite, where it's like, we're going to go straight 2000X. And it's just confusing to me why this figure we went full force. Yeah. But He-Man and Skeletor, we held back a little bit. Yeah. I think it's more jealousy, because if I'm going to pick up something, it's going to be He-Man and Skeletor if they looked like this. You know what I mean? If they were this good of a representation. So I think that's where it is with me. I'm a little jealous that's like He-Man and Skeletor, you just pulled up at the last minute. Absolutely. And Randor, you nailed the Death Star.
And on top of that, like, looking at that face sculpt, I think it's one of the better face sculpts just in the entire line. Yeah. It's not even just like, you know, oh, that's a good King Red. No, that's a good face sculpt, which I know for me, that's been a hit or miss thing with that line, watching it from afar. Like, you know, the first He-Man, that was hit or miss. Then all of a sudden, Snake Armor He-Man has the vintage looking He-Man face, but the 2000X hair, which that looks like he's in a midlife crisis, in my opinion. It did not look like how, you know, like a younger He-Man should look. And now they're doing this, and it's like, well, they're boom, you know, why does your chocolate taste good on my peanut butter kind of moment.
But yeah, he looks good. I'm glad they did him finally. Eternos Palace Randor is still my default King Randor. So the Filmation one.
Yeah, okay.
Anything Filmation.
Gotcha. I have the
and
one
then-
that's like the traditional toy. That's for classics. That's always my because he's got the battle armor, quote unquote, on. That was mine when I was a kid. So
Yep. And then last but not least, well, maybe least, let's be honest. We have, actually, she's not last. We have Snake Tila,
yep.
which is not just a straight repaint of Tila. That is modified armor. She has the shoulder pads that she had in 2000X, and she did not have in the first Origins toy release.
Yeah.
I would also like to point out that those shoulder pads would look amazing for an Adora figure.
Yeah, that one.
See where they would do some reuse there. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I could see. I mean, again, it's one of those like they're under the Snake Men aesthetic. Though that's another thing that like what Randor
I was going to
is
bring that up
under
at the end.
Okay, sorry, but
No, you're good. Go for it.
No, it is weird that Randor is one in the Snake. I mean, Slamurai, they had him on the back of the card art for the Classics version where he was fighting the Horde Troopers who were the Snake Horde Troopers. That makes sense. You know, and all that. But like Randor being in there is a little like, what's that about? And I guess it might have been, hey, we can just put him in there. Let's do this. But it's like, what does that serve in the purpose of the greater scheme of that aesthetic or whatever? But honestly, like
real quick on the card back, I was going to bring that up too, because in the vintage line, all of the Snake Men were on that Snake Men card back.
Yeah.
In this Origins line, they just transitioned where that first wave where Ratlore came out, they used this card back and they've used it on every character that has come out since then. And it really bugs me too. It's like, is it really that big of a production cost to switch back and forth? You know?
The only other thing I can think of is maybe there's something on the back of his card that makes it that he's now in that wave.
But it doesn't matter. Even the heroes who came out in the Snake Men wave in vintage had the regular card back.
Okay.
Only the Snake Men, literally the Snake Men, had this card back that they're using for everybody now.
Yeah.
If they could do that in vintage, I can't believe they can't switch back and forth nowadays. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
But yeah, Snake Tila, simple repaint. I don't know that we needed it, but she's here. With that new tooling, I have to assume that we're going to get a regular 2000X Tila right around the corner. Like I said, possibly an Adora could also utilize that.
Yeah. I mean, they could even go and do like, okay, you know, we've already had Snake Tila in the 2000X line. We did Snake Man at Arms and Classics. They might even go full force and go, okay, here's Snake Mechaneck now, and here's Snake, and do, because I mean they did it on the show. They might, you know, it's like the whole, well, here we're going to dig a little deeper to the stuff that we couldn't do the first time. But you know, even for me, it's like you're still doubling down on Snake Man. That's not helping me right now. Like if I was a collector of the line, it would still make me go, I don't need to repaint Tila when I'd rather have other figures who aren't associated with the Snake Men if you're going to be going there, like Randor the way he is. You know, give me more of that. Don't give me the Snake Men offshoot stuff constantly, because it's still too much. That's me. That's, you know, I'm sure there's people out there thinking I'm an idiot for thinking that way, but it's just not my thing.
I wish they'd gone just a step further, like they gave her the shoulder pads. Give her the head with the longer hair, you know. And honestly, I would have painted the armor in the cartoon colors. You know, she had that the teal accents and everything. but they might do that on the plain colored release. So I don't know. It just that's definitely a filler figure of the wave right there. And then I forgot about him completely, but we do have the Snake Trooper as well, which is just a Horde Trooper painted black with a snake head.
Yeah, which for anybody who missed that exclusive, because that was a PowerCon exclusive.
Yep.
And was it the last PowerCon that was He-Man centric?
No,
or maybe the second to last one.
Yeah, it was at least the second because I went to the last one and Origins was already out.
Gotcha. All right. Over. So like for anybody who didn't get that set, right there you got it, and you're not going to be paying crazy bucks if you're already an Origins collector, wanted Slamurai, and you can get 2 of those, and you're paying still under what it would have been to get the 3-pack on eBay after PowerCon.
Gotcha. Sorry, I got distracted.
Okay. But yeah, like for me, that would not like I wanted Slamurai. I did not care about the Horde Trooper snake people person. And that wasn't even like a Snake Men thing. That was just it's an army builder that I know I'm not going to worry about at all. Right. So I just wanted the Slamurai because that was just cool that they finally put them out.
Yeah, to me, if you're going to do Snake Men army builders, you use the Snake Men, the savage ones that we saw in all of 2000X, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's what I want from a Snake army builder personally. So, I mean, these are fine, I guess. Again, though, it's just, I guess King Randor really used up that budget this way because you got 2 basic pop and swap, mostly repaints. And, you know, I mean, even Slamurai, he's literally Ninjor in a different color scheme.
Yep.
It's a weird a wave, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, like for me, the only one that I desperately have to get if I was an Origins person was Randor.
Yeah.
And it's like Slamurai. That version is the version I have on my shelf. I have the Cyclone head, the painted white and blue. That's more my speed on them as well. So if they don't have an extra head in there, it's like, all right, you know, that's it's good that he's out there, but he's not the version that I liked from the get-go. So
agreed. All right. All right. Toys. A good time to be an Origins fan.
Yeah.
So much for those rumors that the lines canceled like 2 months ago.
Well, that's the beauty of having a podcast. There will be people coming out of the woodwork going, "Is it really dead?" One YouTube video. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how much that's going to matter to Mattel right now, but
it doesn't seem to be. They keep showing off wave after wave after wave. So now you're good for at least a few more waves.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been so rapid fire with this line that I don't know if it's going to last 5 years like the original line did, because it feels like they just keep hitting wave after wave after wave. But at the same time, they also have the they're lucky because they have the history that wasn't there in the vintage line behind them now. So they can deep dive into some of the stuff that fans would be excited about, like Frogmonger and things like that. And it's like, you know, people are eating that up. And for me, it's like, well, that's cute. Okay. We got that going on. All right. There's a frog dude.
Hey, it's not keeping the line going. Or it's keeping the brand going. So
yeah, keeping the brand going.
For that. All right, you've got some listener questions. Let's power through those.
All right. So Mike Ficklin, he reached out and he said, "What's your gut feeling on why e-tailers like BBTS and Entertainment Earth aren't getting the solicitations from Mattel on the latest waves of Origins and Masterverse yet? Haven't seen them posting anything new for pre-order in quite some time. Seems odd that they haven't gotten solicitations on Origins Wave 12 at this point especially."
Well, if I recall correctly, Wave 12 is the one that we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Which the pictures...
I'm not sure.
literally, I know I lose track of which number they are, but I'm 99% sure that that's supposed to be wave 12 is the one we just talked about, which the pictures just released this morning.
Yeah.
And I know they've done it before where they've listed them without pictures, but Big Bad Toy Store Entertainment Earth usually wait until they can at least put pictures with their solicitation. So I don't follow Origins too closely, but I don't feel like they're that far behind, especially since these aren't supposed to be out for like 4 to 6 months, depending on factory timing and everything. I know that's probably not a great answer for you, Mike, but that's what I got. I don't feel they're that far behind.
Yeah, I don't keep up with them, to be completely honest myself, but I know usually when the announcement is made, it will be on the front page of those websites, because the last time, like the Snake Armor He-Man and stuff, that was like front page material on BBTS when I went on there
and I got
not too long ago. Yeah, so it's mostly I guess the answer that I'll give you is we live in an age where the news comes out faster than the retailers sometimes will be able to give you a legit listing. So just, be a little patient, see what happens in maybe a month or so, and then you might end up finding out that they are being listed. So
yeah, I think Deep Discount really just jumped the gun on their listings.
Well, they did that when the Revelation stuff was hitting. Like, we saw that stuff months before we finally got to see the figures, but they were listed on there as we at least knew who the figures would be because the names were out there at least. So thank you, Mike, for writing in on that one. And then Jacob Hicks wrote in with recent comments and leaks of products, the product reveals in Germany, and then Mattel putting two waves on Mattel Creations on Godlin release day. What's your opinion on the future of the franchise?
So we kind of covered this a little bit already, but it seems great to me. They actually said at the PowerCon that I attended, the last true one, that was 2021, that their plan was for all waves to be available on Mattel Creations. So actually they're a bit behind on fulfilling that promise from a year and a half ago. Other than that, like I said, they keep their stuff mostly sells out. I know Darklin is still available and the 4-pack still available, but everything else is all sold out. They're showing off all these pictures. We forgot about that. They did show off the Snake Mountains a little bit, and there was a glimpse of a Talon fighter in the background that people are assuming is a new one. I mean, companies don't release play sets for dying lines. They might release some figures that they had in the chamber, but they're not going to release a freaking shelf hog like Snake Mountain if the line was truly dying. You know what I mean? So I feel really good about it.
I'm right there with you where, like, we aren't the ones who are buying this line, but the people who are buying these lines are passionate about these lines. And I think that's the main thing is, like, there's always that, oh God, it's over, they're in the clearance aisle. Well, they're in the clearance aisle because they've been on the pegs for like X amount of months to a year. And so they're moving them out so the new stuff can come in. Usually it's not necessarily that the line is dying. And we're on YouTube and stuff, but one YouTube content creator does not mean that it's the end of the world and we have to be Chicken Little out there. That was his opinion, and there's a lot of people who are coming back saying, well, that's not what I heard, and that's so you don't have to listen to that. Just as far as I'm concerned, they have more waves in than I even remembered them having. Like us talking about the wave now, I'm like, how many waves are we in? So yeah, I think the thing is how fast this stuff hits. That's the main thing. It's like we're now used to it's a new wave every quarter or whatever, and it's like that's pretty crazy. Like how fast these things are getting pumped out nowadays. But yeah, the future to me, I don't see them stopping anytime soon, especially not with Revolution coming around the corner and hopefully a season 4 of the CGI show. So Yeah. So thank you, Jacob, for that. And then Curtis Ackerman. He says, you were in the 80s working for Mattel, and you have been tasked making a new heroic figure to fight with He-Man against Skeletor. You need a cool action feature and name for the character. What are they? And that's the one where I thought maybe we will have to table that and think a little harder.
We got to table that. We'll
table that for next
read
time,
the
Curtis.
questions beforehand. So, yeah, we'll get to that next episode.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Curtis.
And Jay, I always hate to say his last name because I feel like I'm going to say it wrong. Gravati? Gravat?
I like Gravate.
Gravati? It has like a little bit of something to that one.
Pride of Grayskull.
What are you expecting from O2 Revolution? Mind blown.
Not really. I was expecting or hoping for, because that's kind of where at first I wanted to go hoping for, but like what I usually hope for is unfortunately not what we get.
Yeah.
So I will go with my actual expecting because that's how he worded it. I expect King Randor to die. And then it'll be very much Adam trying to figure out how to be a king with the Horde taken over. And I expect something, not a direct ripoff, but very much akin, a spiritual successor to kind of the back half of the Eternity War DC Comics run, where the Horde is slowly taking over Eternia and Adam's got to come to terms with all that and try and fight back against them. Very much the heroic warriors as the rebellion, and probably Despara eventually becoming She-Ra and helping Adam turn the tide. Mm-hmm. That's what I expect from Revolution. And maybe not even all that in that, because I think it's only 5 episodes to begin with.
It's 5, so that's a lot of ground to cover in 5
Well, what I was about to say is, I don't think Revolution's going to have a happy ending. I expect this to be The Empire Strikes Back. So part of that will be in another 5 episodes that we don't know about yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I just, again, what I expect, I have this feeling that they're setting this up longer than 5 episodes. So I'm not expecting a self-contained. I'm expecting this to end with Han and Carbonite, and we're going, what the hell are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So probably so the 5 episodes will be Death of King Randor, Skeletor probably trying to take over, but Hordak slipping in and really messing everything up. And then maybe at the end of the 5 episodes, like He-Man and the Rebellion have their first kind of win. And it's like, okay, what now?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I expect from it.
I'll go with, I expect Powerhouse to bring out some really cool animation again.
Absolutely.
I expect Bear McCreary to show me that
score.
the score for He-Man doesn't have to always be Filmation, because I think that score really is impressive and it really holds up. And I expect 5 episodes, and I also expect, according to what they've said, that He-Man will be way more in these 5 episodes than he got to have the chance to be in Revelation. So right off the bat, you have my attention. And if Chris Wood shows back up to play He-Man and Adam again, you got my money, because I really enjoyed him playing both roles in Revelation as well.
I agree. Can we recast Teela, though?
I don't know. I am not in disagreement with you on that one, because I feel like there could have been some other voice actresses who could have probably voiced that a little gentler at times, because she had a very, like, her delivery was not it was the way that I could hear it in my head listening.
Let's be honest. Let's just call a spade a spade. I don't dislike Sarah Michelle Gellar. She's done a lot of great stuff that I've liked. I really felt she was phoning in Teela. I don't feel like she bought into the role. It really felt like, oh, I'm doing this cartoon right now. Like that old type of, they hired me for my name. I'm going to read these lines. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Whereas like Mark Hamill, he was Skeletor in his mind. He wanted the opportunity. He took it. And he did everything he could, you know, regardless of if you feel it feels too jokery. I get that criticism, but like he bought in. Chris bought in. Like you need your actors to buy in, and that's what I felt was missing from her. It really felt like I am reading this script.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I just want some passion.
And I mean, for me, MVP of that show still is Griffin Newman, because I'll be damned if I actually loved Orko for the first time in my life watching that series. So, expectations. There you go. Thank you, Jay, for writing in. And then Chris Geis or Ozstradamus Toys over on YouTube, if you want to check out his channel. What do you feel would be the right move to keep Motu in big box retail?
Are they out of big box retail?
I think it's the longevity of keeping them in there versus them being out of it. Okay,
because I know I've heard some rumors, and I was even talking to someone earlier today about this, who's like, yeah, they're gone from Target and Walmart, and I'm like, my stores have had the newest waves, so I know there's a bit of contention there, but I mean, they have to sell, right? So if you guys want Origins, Masterverse, CGI to keep moving, buy them. Buy them from the stores. I think the problem is that means people have to wait longer, because obviously Mattel ships them all out. Your e-tailers get it. Your brick and mortar distribution centers get them. So then at that time, brick and mortar stores, they're moving them from their distribution center to the stores, whereas e-tailers are shipped now in stock. So they automatically get a good month lead time. And of course, we're in the gotta get it now, right?
Yep.
And so everyone ships them. And so then once they show up in stores, they sit there longer. You know, the stuff that wasn't as readily available that sold out of the e-tailers, that moves pretty quick. But your basic figures are sitting there because us ravenous fans already bought them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest thing you can do. Wait for the brick and mortar stores to get it. Unfortunately, that's also a gamble. I mean, I'm not going to turn my eyes to that, because Walmart especially skips waves. They'll skip wave 3. They'll get 4 and 5. They'll skip wave 6. They'll get 7. You know, Target, I feel, has been a little bit better since they started carrying them. I've seen just about everything there. But, you know, but honestly, at the end of the day, you want them to stay in the brick and mortars. They got to sell the majority of them. Some will still go to clearance. Clearance is not a line killer like people think it is. I regularly see Fortnite and all that, you know, Legos in clearance. Like, clearance happens, but as a whole, the store has to sell the majority of what they bring in.
There you go. I don't have a better answer than that. I mean, it's obviously just, you know, go out there and speak with your wallet, and that will be proof that the line is still out there and you know, viable to the retailer and stuff. So, and that's the thing too. There's so, like, we have Origins, we have Masterverse, and we have the CGI. There's so much out there that you can pick or choose whichever one you want to support, or if you want to support them all. And Mattel's going to at least go, okay, you know, these are selling. There is an audience still that wants this stuff. And so, I mean, personally, it's like, I wouldn't mind seeing more at retail that's maybe not what we have right now. Maybe something else even down the line. And I would love if
if that was speaking to me a little bit more than what is out there. So then I'd be excited to go to Target and go, ooh, I need to get this one now or whatever. But that's a pipe dream for me because they already are invested in these 3 lines. But yeah, I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense to me is speak with your wallet at the big box chain stores like that. Then.
Absolutely. Any more?
That's it. So thank you, everybody who responded. And that was a fast turnaround for the fact that I did that late last night. We still managed to get a couple of
And that's
questions.
Also only in our Legendati group. So if you want to ask us questions, make sure you join our Legendati group on Facebook. All right. Masterverse. Number 1. If you have not read it, you want to stay spoiler free, thank you guys. And until next time. All right, now that all those losers are gone.
Now the cool kids can talk. Yeah.
Cool kids. All right. Masterverse. Number 1. Script, Tim Seeley. The framing story. Art was Eddie Nunez. Color was Rico Renzi. And letters by Daron Bennett. Daron did the lettering for all of it. So, yes. Story 1. Curse of Castle Grayskull. Art by Kelly Jones. Color art by Brennan Wagner. And the second story was He-Man the Lost, with art by Sergio Aragones and color art again by Rico Renzi. Framing story. It's there. Not much of a setup. Zodak's questioning why Adam should keep the power. And Sorceress is going to show him some other alternate He-Man to show why Adam deserves it.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, kind of a weak plot, but I love the anthology-ness of it.
So I had a thought right as we started recording that I want to throw out there to you and see if this is something that would have been a better idea. I'm almost remastering how timelines work here.
Sure.
What if this was the comic that would have came out before the Multiverse comic hit with Anti-Eternia He-Man? The reason being is we're going through Multiverse, we're seeing all these different versions, and that could have set them up a hell of a lot better than anything they did in the Multiverse book, where all of a sudden we have the He-Force at the end. Yeah. Imagine this being the beginning of that, and then the next one being the Anti-Eternia, and we had Sergio Aragones He-Man showing up to save the day, and you're going, hey, that's the dude from first issue of this.
Yeah. Definitely would have been better.
I'm just saying that was like one of my knee-jerk reactions reading it today. Like, this is backwards. The timeline in this is backwards. But yeah, the setup was pretty weak. Like, I kind of was thinking the setup was going to be maybe there was something Adam did as He-Man to make them question this is something that maybe isn't a great idea. And instead it was, he's still protecting Castle Grayskull. He punched out Skeletor. Bad guys ran away. I'll get you next time and all that stuff. And scene. And then there's Zodak, you know.
And it was kind of fun seeing that in the Revelation style, because that's something we didn't get. But yeah, it's very basic. But Eddie Nunez's art is amazing. So
we need to get him on a book. We need to get him on a at least a mini series that's all from front to back his art. I would eat that thing up in a second because he's just got it. He knows what works. I think
he's got one coming up in this series.
I hope so. If not, I'm still okay with it being the bookends because he draws a gorgeous anything in Masters, in my opinion, for the new talent that's been coming to the line, at least, or to the brand in the comics field.
100%. So then the first story was Curse of Castle Grayskull. I love this one. I was really not expecting that. I really did. It's the dark color palette. The art is really, I really like that art. It's a simple story, but I also didn't see it coming.
No, neither
So,
did I.
It starts with it's Prince Adam, Prince Adam, Tila, and Orko are riding on what they say to a mission.
Yeah.
And they get ambushed by Skeletor and his evil warriors. And Adam's first, well, number one, it's got a ton of references. You know, the Moon of Phantos, I forget all of them. Like, they really did their homework on that. And they wind up on the dark side of Eternia in this abandoned town.
Mm-hmm.
And Adam's trying to escape everybody. Webstore shows up. That Webstore looked vicious.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my Lord. Scareglow shows up. And all the time, Adam's kind of doing this inner monologue, like he's got to get away from Tila and Orko so that he can save them or keep them safe. And of course, I'm thinking, it's the evil warriors, but as we go along, he stays Adam until finally Scareglow grabs Orko and is going to kill him. Oh, Orko sings the song.
Yeah. The Driel and him song. Yeah.
Yes, from film. That's great.
I'm like, they're going here. That's like so sicky sweet, but then it worked within the confines of the story. I was kind of surprised by that. Yeah, Batross was like a vampire in this one, literally like coming out of a crypt.
Yep.
Yeah.
But then, so finally, Adam's up against the wall. Scareglow's got Orko. He pulls the power sword and transforms into Castle Grayskull Man.
And he says, by the horror of Grayskull, I am the horror.
Yes.
Which it's like, didn't see that because what I love that they did that. The one page, it's like by the horror of Grayskull, and you're like, what the crap? And then
I
when
read
you get to the next
times. I'm like, what is about to happen here?
Yeah.
And then I flip the page, and it's him all animalistic. I love this. I love this origin for Castle Grayskull Man.
Yeah,
like this is so much better than just I'm this overpowered character that sleeps in Castle Grayskull.
Yeah, yeah.
And he literally sucks Scareglow's soul out of him, but at a price, as it then turns Adam into this zombified character.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it fed Castle Grayskull's like this vampire that feeds on power.
Yeah,
it's eating Adam up.
It's like feeds on life forces or soul or whatever. Which, I mean, considering people thought Grayskull is a weird place to have the heroes' headquarters when they were a kid, or their parents when they were a kid, maybe thinking that. It's like they played it up nicely that I like this. I didn't expect this to be this version to be one where I'm like, I would actually want to come back here and see some more stories with what that deal is with this version of Eternia. Because it is like, it's like Spawn back in the beginning of Spawn. Every time he used his power, he was closer to a second death. And it's kind of that whole thing of if Adam has to be a hero, if he can't fight it as Adam and he has to rely on the power of the horror of Grayskull, then holy crap, that guy's going to die sooner than later, depending what kind of stuff the tourney is up against.
Yeah, every time he uses it, it takes a little more out of him. Is what I took. Because he says, "But I used the power in the castle fed. Now renewed, it grows stronger as the light of the single soul keeping it in check fades."
Mm-hmm.
So eventually he's going to die, and then Castle Grayskull is actually like this evil force, which, like you said, is totally riffing on that whole misconception there from when, when we were young and our parents and everything. And it's a nice, tight, compact story, great art, atmospheric, and I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
So I thought the first story was excellent.
It's like I said, it's one I want to come back to, and I mean that's the main thing for me. Even with the multiverse comic, going back to that for a second, it's like we were given these like windows into these worlds, and I'm like, you can't just do this. And basically, it's like you're giving us some blue balls. Basically, like this is a great idea. What else could you do? But are we going to come back to that or not? I have a feeling we're not, and what we got of this is definitely like that's a huge amount of fuel to the imagination. The same with I said it earlier, Rudy Obrero's art when we were kids. Like he was giving you enough to have your imagination run wild. The idea of this, where Adam is literally like going to die defending Eternia if he keeps relying on the power or the horror of Grayskull. It's like that's pretty freaking cool. I mean, like I don't want to see him die, but it's pretty freaking cool that they're making that as like an addendum to the deal now or whatever,
And it's just a simple, like you said, it's fuel for the imagination. It doesn't try to do anything huge, world ending. No. Everything's changing. It's just like, here's this Eternia. And they came up with a nice, neat little twist on it. And they gave us just this simple little half a comic book adventure.
This was Tuesday. This was their Tuesday. Or
some
Wednesday.
days you just need Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Sean, why don't you start telling us about the second story, He-Man the Lost.
He-Man the Lost.
Epic title.
Yeah, epic title. He-Man the Lost is basically I almost look at it as like a Venture Brothers or Harley Quinn on HBO Max style take on the origin story of He-Man. The artwork is one of those things that tips you off. It's not meant to be taken seriously. It's meant to be a parody, and it's basically, here is this barbarian who's in a jungle tribe, and when he ends up by accident saving the Green Goddess, she asks what his name is, and he goes, well, they usually point to me and say, He-Man. So he becomes He-Man. He's given all of the various accoutrements to become He-Man, like the chest harness and the power harness and all the weapons and the battle ram. And he goes up against Skeletor, and Skeletor in this version reminds me of something out of Cartoon Network or, like I said, Venture Brothers or Harley Quinn, where anytime somebody comes up against him, it's like, I don't care, boom, and he just blows it up. And he blows up the battle ram, the Wind Raider, and et cetera, et cetera. Even the stilts. I love that. Green Goddess is like, wait a minute, you didn't stop him with the stilts? They have guns on them. How did you not do that? and long story short, it's just a giant parody leading up to them deciding to play PlayStation in Castle Grayskull at the end. And that's that version of He-Man on that world. Everything is a joke. Everything is set up to be a parody of what we love, and it's not even like a homoerotic version of it. It's just flat out, this is probably the baseline of what most parents thought of the line when we were kids. That's the way I see it, at least.
Yeah, it's very. The art style is very like Sunday Funnies comic strip.
Yeah.
Like it's very simple, almost even like Popeye. Like kind of those over exaggerated proportions, and
it reminds like Sergio Aragones did Gru the Barbarian, or Grow Groo the Barbarian, if I remember right. And he had a very Sunday Funnies. I don't know the best combination. It's almost like if Far Side met Garfield or something.
right. That's
or
what
Far
it's just that kind of classic comic strip.
Bloom County kind of vibe. Yeah. And it's not something like, I know he did a variant cover in one of the miniseries recently. And it's not something I'd ever equate to Masters of the Universe. And it's definitely like his style works only within the confines of this story to tell that story. It's not something I would want to see in an ongoing in any way, shape, or form, because it's not meant to be taken seriously. It's not meant to be the legit version. So it's very much a parody.
The whole thing's just a joke, and
yeah,
I found myself laughing.
I did.
Because it's in this art style. It's in like they're saying, what if He-Man was, they ran it on Sundays instead of Hagar the Horrible?
Yeah.
Like that's the vibe I get from it. And like anything Masters, I feel as long as you lean into it and commit, it can be good. And I enjoyed the hell out of this story. I was laughing. I was, and they've got that basic through line of the He-Man and the Power Sword world. Great Wars, Barbarian Tribe. But yeah, Battle Cat looking like your typical comic tiger, and chasing He-Man, trying to eat him. And they fall down and they beat the Shaggy monster, and the goddess, oh, you beat him. And they're like, oh, yeah okay.
Yep.
No, I enjoyed it. And yeah, she's like, here's all your stuff. And, this war saddle for your equally heroic steed. My steed? Oh, yes, my steed. He would never eat me.
Yeah.
Since we're good friends and I'm his boss and all. And then they get to the battle, and they even poke fun at the property, right? Because when they get back, Skeletor's got the power swords. He's trying to enter Grayskull. He's fighting Tila, Man-at-Arms, and Stratos again. And he's like, bah! You were no match for me before I collected new evil warriors, like Merman and Panther. I'm like, it's so that, like, yeah, pick them up at your local Toys R Us.
Collect them all. Exactly.
I'm actually surprised that they pulled away from going full force with throwing in the, like, collect them all. They're in stores now. Like, but yeah, and this is, of course, Sean's favorite part ever.
And the part I spoiled today for Matt.
He did spoil it for me. Skeletor sticks the sword in to open the drawbridge of Castle Grayskull, and now this keep will have its king. Suck a fart, Eternia.
Not a line I ever imagined hearing in a Masters of the Universe anything, including cartoon, movie, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it made me stop, and I'm like, really? And then the other part of me was like, that's kind of funny, because I'm hearing it in the CGI Skeletor voice, which made it better.
Yeah, I was going Alan Oppenheimer, but still, it's like.
And
then He-Man starts pulling out all his weapons. He's like, the battle ram is part catapult, part battering ram, and part space. Sherzak, and Skeletor blows it up. The Wind Raider, he blows it up.
Yep.
It's like, what?
And I love that the sorceress or the Green Goddess is like, anytime you need anything to enhance your powers, just let me know. And it's like it blows up, and he's like, Green Goddess, and then she brings something else, and then the next one's like, and he's like more and more timid about asking for things because they keep getting blown up within seconds.
When my favorite part, and the Stilt Stalker thing was great too, but my favorite was when she brings out the attack track, unstoppable battle machine, and Skeletor goes, sigh, I'm gonna Sherzak it. Sherzak. That's the
noise.
Yeah, there's a word for it. Those
the Foley or whatever noise.
Yeah,
or, the onomatopoeia noise or whatever you want to call it.
Right. And then she brings out the Stilt Stalker. Oh no, so tall. Whatever shall I do? Shrek it. Oh no, and then the last thing she brings the play box and a crate of Munchors.
And so then there was this line in the beginning of the story where he's being like one of the village the village elder is like, take this to the trash area, and he's like, I don't want to take it to the trash area. What, they didn't do that back in the old days before the Great War. And they're like, well, now we do it, go take it there or whatever. And so he has to take it out, and he's like, I've heard of them using warriors on glass to fight and create
gladiators who battled across glass with their
glass with fingers. And I was like, what is he talking about? And then at the end of the story, you find out it's video games, which then I'm like, that's actually a really profoundly eloquent way of explaining what a video game could be if you didn't want to just go, well, you push buttons, like I kind of dug the way they did that, because then it ended up being a thing at the end of the story, which did not expect that at all.
I originally thought he was talking, I thought it was a Filmation reference, when they would play like the chess game the courtyard is more what I was thinking. But then I liked how it came back to actually mean, there's video games. Because once He-Man gets the play box, Skeletor's like, hey, I saw this big glass screen in the castle. You could go,
and then
they start arguing about who's player one and who's player two.
Well, I like that where he's like, well, I don't mind if I'm player two, and then he's like, wait a minute, I should be player one. I'm the most powerful man in the universe, and
I'm the king, though.
Yeah, and then you see Battle Cat ripping into the Munchors, and he finally won't eat He-Man for that reason. He's at least fed for the day. So,
on second thought, I should be player one. I'm the most powerful man in the universe. I'm the king, though. I think you need a face to be a king. What exactly started the Great Wars, by the way? I like that implication. It's like clearly a video game disagreement is what caused Eternia to nuke itself.
They didn't have social media, so the least they could give them was video games, because social media would have done it faster.
I thought this story knocked out of the park. It was fast, it was fun, and it was funny. Like you said before, I love that you brought up the homoerotic thing, because that's like the place to go with He-Man, right? Oh, look, they've got to be gay, it's got to be a homoerotic, ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
And they still leaned into taking some shots at kind of the camp of it, but it was just funny. It was just good fun, and I enjoyed it again.
So I went into this first issue the most because honestly, Tim Seeley is hit or miss for me on writing masters at this point. I didn't mind the Masters and Justice crossover, and the only reason I didn't mind that was the way he wrote He-Man made me go, that's how Superman should be written right now. Like, he did a really good job, and depending on the situation, both characters should have a similar optimism and a similar vibe to them, where it's like they're there to help, just like Superman would say. But I was not a fan of the multiverse book at all. My favorites were the 2000X and the like mini comic versions. Because I went into that with too many preconceived ideas in my own head canon. But at the end of the day, I just did not like the idea that one issue, all of a sudden, like all the answers were given, but we didn't even know we had those questions until it's like He Force and what the hell. This was such a departure from me being worried about it that it makes me actually excited for the next issue, because it really is like, what can they do with this now? And it is kind of a wacky idea. And my owning to it is very minimal compared to here's Anti-Eternia He-Man for the first time showing up. So on that level, I was very surprised how well this accomplished what it set out to do.
I completely agree. I had higher expectations than you did. I was still worried that it was going to try and be something bigger than it is. And after this first issue, that worry is kind of gone, because it really doesn't feel like they're, like I said, I just wanted some good stories, and that's what these two both were. I enjoyed both of them immensely. I'm curious to see what other looks we'll get out of these worlds. But the only thing they could do is try to tie everything together at the end. I hope it's just what it says it is. It's these snapshots in the different Eternias. 2 stories an issue, 4 issues, 8 stories total, and we're in, we're out.
Yeah.
That's my hope, is that they just stick to that. But I'm excited to see where this series is going.
Yeah, like I said, my thing is, I really wish that this would have been before Multiverse, because that would have made that book even more interesting to me, because we could have gone back to the Sergio Aragone's Masters of the Universe world again, had him be along for the ride instead of the Tappers He-Man that was driving everybody crazy, or have the Atom who doesn't want to turn into He-Man having to turn into He-Man one last. I mean, that would have been a hell of a moment where, like, you talk about heroism. Just the idea of, all chips are down. Somebody has to fight Anti-Eternia He-Man. He leaves himself behind. And by the horror of Grayskull, boom. And that's like the final time he could do it. But it's meant to give everybody else time to get away from the big bad or something. It's like, there's stuff built into this that now would have been awesome payoffs if they had it in that miniseries. And unfortunately, it's cart before the horse, in my opinion. And it is what it is. I mean, it's like, I'm sure that was not necessarily planned. And the other problem, I guess, too, is that was DC. This is Dark Horse doing this one, so it wouldn't necessarily translate the same way. But
I completely get what you're saying. I agree with you. Like, that would have even been a better framing story if it was like Zodak's like, oh, we have this premonition, a great evil's coming. I need to gather a force. We need to look beyond just one Eternia. We need to look at them all.
Yeah.
And then you go into all these worlds, and it leads up to that. And I would have loved the Gru the He-Man showing up as the comic relief rather than freaking Tappers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead of 87 movie He-Man giving up his life to save them there. That would have been, the horror of Grayskull.
Adam. Yeah, horror of Grayskull.
Holding him at bay.
Yeah.
So what's interesting to me is on the final panel there, Sorcerer Zodak's like, we need to look at some more because we got 3 more issues, basically.
Yes.
And Sorcerer's like, sit down in your chair. We got this. And then she shows Battle Armor He-Man, Jitsu, Skeletor, and the He-Man from the new Eternia line. But then she also shows CGI Adam, Cringer, and Ram Man.
Yep.
Which is interesting. Because I know we've read the story the plots. And I'm wondering, are one of those actually going to be set in the CGI universe?
I'd say it's possible with that, because why would they put them on there if that wasn't an eventuality in the books? But
Right.
I only read the synopsis for the first 2 issues, if I remember right. So
Right.
maybe it's in the third or the fourth issue.
It had to be, because the next one I think is one story deals with the New Eternia, and then the basic, and then the other one's supposed to do battle armor and jitsu.
Okay.
So
the one thing I did notice that I don't know if it was a mistake or if it was actually meant to be that way. If you look at Cringer for the CGI show, he's got fangs, though. He doesn't have them filed down like he does on the show. So I'm just curious if that's going to be like almost they're sidestepping CGI and doing, well, this is a battle cat that's now not the same as what we know on the show. Same as like how these other ones have a little something off about them, so they aren't the versions we know. It's just a little thing I just noticed. I'm not saying that that's going to tell the story or tip the hand of what that story might be. But when I saw that, I'm like, I wonder if he forgot to do that or not. But it is what it is. I like that it's there.
Artistic interpretation.
Well, it could be that too. But yeah, it made me happy to see like that's probably the first time that I could think of where the CGI show is represented in the comics lore now.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. And if that issue actually does make people go, you know what, I might try the show now. And I'm always a fan of if you like He-Man, give it a shot.
Yeah. That's what I was interested in. I'm wondering if it's just going to be a straight like CGI adventure, or if it's going to be like the CGI with a twist, or if they just threw it there just like you said, just to show like, hey, this is a universe out there.
Yeah.
Because every other story either has to do with the New Eternia toys, which are kind of their own canon that hasn't been explored, or like in these issues, just these random, hey, what about this twist?
Yeah.
So it's just interesting that they're the ones that are pulled like straight out of their show, looks like, in the comic though.
Yeah, and I mean, it does look like whatever the decision is will affect the Revelation version of Masters. True. So, I mean, it's like they made a point of that on the CGI show to make you see that Adam giving the power back is a very important part of the character compared to like we know it's happened in Filmation, we know it's happened in all the other versions, but that was part of him like in the final season that we've gotten so far.
Yeah.
Like that was part of him finally like unleashing the cosmic version of himself. Was giving the power away was probably the bravest thing he could have done. And so I'm wondering if that is a pivot point in this story where Zodak's going to see that version of Adam and go, that makes sense. That's why this kid needs this or whatever. And then it bleeds into that reality's version. Like I said, it might not even, I might be putting way more thing into it than not, but it is interesting that they're right there on that final page.
For sure. So out of 5 power swords.
Out of 5 power swords, I would give it. For the fact that I did not expect to have fun with it the way I did, I'll go 4 out of 5 on this one, only because it's still new. I almost want to see what happens. It's given me enough to make me want to read more, which that's a good thing. But I'm very curious to see the other ones because there is that part of me. I think it's funny that the parody is there, but parody stuff for me is not as much fun as getting like the serious stuff. So as fun as that is, it's like I'm looking forward to the new Eternia stuff that's coming up around the corner for the comic more than some of the parodies. So, but 4 out of 5, it's an entertaining read. It makes you laugh. It makes you go like, holy crap, Castle Grayskull, man, and all that. And like the darkness and the sinisterness of that world, the horror world or whatever you want to call it. And So yeah. What about you?
I completely agree. 4 out of 5. Well above average. Much better than I expected. And I can't wait to see what's next. I mean, you nailed it on all fronts. It's not perfect, but it's damn close. Like, this is a solid read. I would recommend it to any fan of Masters of the Universe. You should be able to find some humor in the second one. The first one's just well done. It's very good. But the only thing I can take off for is, like I said, the framing story just feels so generic. It doesn't detract points, but it doesn't add either. It's just, and this is our excuse.
Not to interrupt, but like Tim's Seeley, when he writes stuff, there's always this feeling of, if you, I hate saying this because it's not like we're paid to write or anything like that, but there is this, like, if you would have just maybe took 2 steps further into what you were doing, this could have been an interesting story within and of itself without needing to be a framing device. Because like I said, that whole idea of why do they need to look at Adam? Like, that's just like we've given this kid power, why? And it's like, well, show us a reason why Zodak would doubt that. It's not just, even in 2000X, Zodak wasn't nearly as hard on him as what's happening here. It was more of he's a comrade, I'll deal with it kind of a situation at points. Well, this being like Cosmic Enforcer.
Zodak,
yeah, all right, I'll give you that.
He's a whole different thing. Like, he's definitely got his vendettas. He's got like he's an Eternian with mystical powers. Like, he's much more knee deep into this than the Cosmic Enforcer true that this Zodak is obviously pulling from. So, but I agree. I think, well, one of 2 ways. Like you said, dig in deeper, have a reason for Zodak to question it, you know, a legitimate reason, or go the other way. You know, I brought it up when we were discussing this before it came out, was the Batman animated series episode Tales of the Dark Knight, where it's kids sitting around telling these different stories that they've heard about Batman, and one is like very much the campy Adam West stuff. One kid talks about him very much in the Dark Knight Returns style, and, like, you know, do that sort of thing. You know, even you could even have, like, you know, this, I mean, literally put them around a campfire, have some kids, and maybe like Man-at-Arms and Mechanic. And Man-at-Arms tells a story, you know, to entertain the kids. You know, maybe they just rescued the kids from Skeletor, you know, whatever. They saved their village. Yeah. And they're talking to these kids, and Man-at-Arms tells a story. And then, or even have an Orko to start with, and then Orko tells that goofy story, right? And then next issue, like, somebody else joins a fire, and they tell a story, and just, like, have it go down, like, just, you know, have Malaktha there, just for fun, you know, and he's like, well, this is the story that I heard about He-Man, and it's just all these different characters' perspective on He-Man in an entertaining way. So, yeah, either one way or the other I would have been good with. Either dig in deeper, make it more serious, or just make it fun. Like, this is just what Eternians do. You know, we sit, well, not us personally, but, you know, we sit and talk about, like, the Kardashian sisters. Like, it's that kind of thing. Like, oh, the He-Man. Like, you know, he's a bigger than life guy. The Eternians have to have stories about him. Did the power of or the horror of Grayskull just sweep across your? Huh? You good? And there goes his audio. We'll be right back, folks. Don't worry, folks. We got him back. But yes, great comic. Minor issues, really. I suggest everybody pick it up.
I think my only thing was saying to you before we recorded that colloquialisms, if I even said that right, is a little annoying at times, but it doesn't happen as much as for some reason, it didn't happen as often as I was expecting it to, but there is one line where it talks about feeder seating, and I was like, really? That I don't know why. It's the like Tim Seeley loves to drop that kind of stuff into his work, but it's like it could have easily just been, Zodak, pull up a chair and let's watch, and he could have said the exact same thing back to her like he did. But that's just one panel. It's a minor complaint on my part. It is what it is. The Suckafart Eternia part still amuses me even right now. So I can't. It's like literally, I'm thinking of that. I actually want to watch that was like their Thundercats Roar. Watching it, like reading that comic, that was like Thundercats Roar, where it's like, I could just hear the voice of how they would do Skeletor. I could see the animation and all that, and it's like I would not want that to be my full-blown He-Man cartoon series forever. But if they did a single episode like that, I would sit there and point and laugh at it and go, that was great. I needed a laugh,
I completely agree. I can't wait to see what's next and beyond. I mean, this should be great going forward. I'm hoping finish strong.
Knock
and
on
then
wood.
Just bring back a monthly comic. Just not dealing with End of the World or anything like that. I mean, Eternity War was a great series. I love it, but I'm good with End of the World stuff. Let's just do adventures. It can build the big events, but it doesn't have to be world ending every time. Everything changes. Secrets are out. Like, I would love just a good ongoing. I saw at the local comic shop today that Power Rangers from Boom Comics, they're up to issue 105. And I remember when that started up, and it's like, man, if Power Rangers can do it, like, why can't He-Man? Especially with all the cast of characters and everything else. It's like, we just look big picture and try and create something with longevity and legs,
Well, that's what my biggest complaint is, and why I have a hesitation of even investing money into a mini series, even with Masters of the Universe right now. Everything since it's been reintroduced in comics, like what was that, 10 years ago now or so, with the Huntsman storyline of Adam as a DC. Yeah, since DC brought it back, and it's like, am I happy to see He-Man back in the comic book stores and on comic shelves? Sort of, because it feels like a majority of what they want to do with the brand now after Eternity War ended is gimmicks. And I'm not a gimmicky person. I don't even care about the action features on action figures if it hinders me enjoying the action figure. So I'm not a huge fan of reading gimmick stories. So this is kind of like a fun palate cleanser after Multiverse didn't land for me, and I was not a fan of the prequel books by any means either. That was like, what the hell are they writing in this? Why is Evelyn's parents trying to eat her? This is ridiculous.
Yeah. And it just it raised more questions what the series answered. Like the series makes less sense if you consider those prequels canon.
Absolutely. I wanted to believe that those were going to be great, and the first issue of those was very much like, ooh, like, where are they going with this? And then the second, third, and fourth were like, okay, I got nothing. So that's the thing. Like, I would, and it's hard. Like, okay, do we do a multiverse book where we're getting to see all these different versions, or maybe they could do like, here's a book that's about the new Eternia and giving fans like a mythology to that story, since they are changing some things up. And maybe here's like a Savage version of He-Man, like the mini comics, and here's more of like a superhero version of He-Man like we grew up with or whatever. And it's like, if they have 3 toy lines out there, it isn't that far-fetched to think that you could do multiple stories with a He-Man book eventually or whatever. And that's, if you want my money, take it seriously and just dive in and tell a story. And I'm right there with you, Matt, on that too, where it doesn't need to be world ending. I mean, it took 10 years or whatever, and not 10 years completely, but it took a while for Marvel to even get to the point where they had an Infinity War,
Right.
We don't need to start everything off with the stakes that high that you have nowhere else to go but down from there. So yeah, telling an adventure story and just getting into it and showcasing and spotlighting some of these characters that don't get as much love and showing why they are good additions to being Masters of the Universe. I'm all in for that, but we'll see what happens because it feels like everything is a gimmick that they're trying to do to keep the brand out there in the comic book stores. So I'm really hoping that they get over that and move forward with something serious.
100%. Great. At least the crossovers are done.
Well, let's hope so. Who knows? I mean, Dark Horse, I'm trying to think. Dark Horse doesn't have the kind of characters in their stable that I could see
crossing over with He-Man and working, except like Hellboy maybe, but then you got to deal with Earth again. Like I don't really need to, and that's Mike Mignola. I mean, I don't know if that's even something that would make sense.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know who they have anymore. They lost Star Wars, so
they lost Star Wars.
So close. He-Man and Vader.
I get Dark Horse and what they do confused sometimes with IDW comics. So yeah. Hey, how about this? We could throw that out there to the listeners. If you've made it through to this spoiler section, if there is something Dark Horse wise that makes sense for them to cross over, let us know. And it'd be interesting to spitball some of that. But like I said, my gimmick temperament is coming to an end with this. I just would like a Masters of the Universe comic from beginning to end. So
I agree. All right, guys. I think it's about that time. Make sure you hit all those buttons down below. We appreciate you tuning in with us. We want to spread our word far and wide. So like, share, subscribe, all that. We appreciate it. And if you want to ask us questions, join our Legendati page most of the time, unless we know we're going to have a packed show. Sean will post something up there, or I will, asking for questions. You can also reach us at logpod85@gmail.com, like Tony Moore.
Yep.
Let us know what you guys want to see. If you want to see more Toy Talk, more remasterings, whatever. We're open to ideas. And next episode, Sean, episode 100.
That's crazy.
We should probably do something. We'll talk.
Yeah, we got to figure that one out. Somebody got to bring cake. So.
Ooh, I like it. I do love a good cake. All right, guys. Until next time, read a comic.
Oh, come on. Ah, rock. Oh, bear. Oh.